friend is going to be interesting to see how she's going to get in there. That one. Everybody,
Where's she at now?
By the hair. Do you think she can make it on that side of you? On that side of you?
How much?
Yeah, let me hear. You can just have half my head.
Well, no, you want to be in the thing too.
Oh, I thought you said you want to put her on the other side. Look, we're gonna fade.
Okay.
There, look.
Okay, that might work. That might work like that. Yeah. That's good enough. We all just gonna, just when you're talking, just kind of like lean in and whatever. Is he on right now? We're on right now. So yeah. Oh, it is on. So let's just.
1 minute until I'm gonna actually.
Teri?
Did you start the live already?
Yeah.
Is it Teri?
Where it at?
It's live.
Yes. Nice.
You're not seeing it show up on the page?
Not yet.
Nope, it's not.
Not yet.
What is it?
I think it says live.
It says live. Okay, wait a minute now.
You got it?
Okay, yeah.
We can have that picture of her in the background.
Okay. Try to go to my thing and see if you see it.
I read this stuff, but I can't. I don't have it.
You see it on mine?
No.
Here, I'm gonna put it to your thing right here. How do you say your last name? Crichton. Crichton. Okay. I sent it to yours. You got it?
Oh, wait, no. Don't send it to me that way because I don't have Facebook message.
Send me one.
You got it?
No.
Yeah,
I'm sending it out.
It's on
Okay.
the page, right?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, we got seat just for you.
All right.
How you guys doing?
Hey,
Okay, go on your phone and share it.
Good. Javier.
Javier?
Yep.
That's how you say it. Javier, I was trying to figure it out.
Sound good.
Montez is the...
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Javier Montez.
How you say your name?
Javier.
Javier?
Mm-hmm.
Allison.
Allison, how you doing? Good.
All right, Allison, check it.
James.
James? Javier.
Okay, I sure did.
Nice to meet you.
You got
Sir.
it? You should be able to. You should be able to.
Alright. And then, Teri, whenever you're ready.
You set?
We'll share it on your Facebook page.
Oh, I already shared it.
On the I should have sent it to you.
Messenger, send it to my, like,
Messenger, I know it's weird.
Just go share it off my page.
You see it?
I don't see
Okay. All right, everybody grab your mics.
Oh, we all get a mic?
That's right.
Okay. Does it work though? We're like behind.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Urban World Talk Live right here on Rainieravenueradio.world and Facebook Live. We are getting all situated here on Facebook Live. So if you see us scrambling and moving around, just pay no attention to that. Get ready. We're about to have a good conversation and a good show for you anyway. I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today, and I got a lot of great guests with me today. Sitting in the co-host chair, if you don't see Anthony Adams today, and he looks a lot better, that's because it's Miss Allison Guinness.
What's up, everybody?
That's right. And also, I got Miss Lee Roberts with me. All right. And also, Miss Frida Crichton.
Hey, what's up?
All right. And also, Paviel Montez.
Hey, everybody.
Yes. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in right now. Remember, guys, keep liking and sharing the video so everybody else can join in the conversation with us as we go on. And, we're going to get it going here. We got a really fun conversation going on with these guys later on. We're going to talk about these girls and what they do with their organization, SOAR. And we're going to get into some fun kind of relationship conversations too. So I don't know if they're ready for that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But before that, I do have to start off the show, unfortunately, with the passing of an icon. The legendary Miss Aretha Franklin passed away today at the age of 76. And, we just wanted to take a little bit of time to send our well wishes to her friends and family. This is a big loss as in the music world and in the world in general. She was a huge icon in the world and meant a lot to a lot of different people. What do you think about that, Allison?
I mean, it's sad. So, we were actually playing Aretha Franklin today. And, it's a sad loss for sure. And I feel really bad that pancreatic cancer. Again, cancer is awful, and it's really unfortunate that she had to go out that way.
Right. And it's unfortunate. Cancer's the big villain once again. I know a lot of us here too young to remember when Aretha was in her prime or weren't alive. A lot of us. We got some people in here that was around back then, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But you guys, quick thoughts, real quick. Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin was very inspirational, I think, to a lot of people musically and just as a human being. She was very inspiring. I've been seeing posts on social media all day, just really expressing that hurt, that loss, and I think she's changed a lot of people's lives. So it is really sad and unfortunate, but she still lives through in a lot of ways.
Right. Definitely.
I just think that legends don't die.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
just like
that.
she still goes platinum every Halloween. So I mean, legends don't really die.
Right. Right. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think, it was crazy seeing it on the breaking news this morning. We had to go and play her because I was supporting a conference, but we for sure had to put on some Aretha during lunch and make it known. My mom loves her, so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, my mom can be at home crying. But I think it's special when you have a voice that can take you on a 60-year career and be able to touch people in different ways and connect on that emotional level. That like music today is so different, and it's not the way that it was when Aretha was doing her music. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Definitely not. And
Resonance.
yeah, and it's such a good point that you just made right there when you're talking about the differences between music back then. Because if you want to really go back right now to where Aretha was when she first came out, you're going to go back 50, 60 years, and you're rewinding to a time where there was no music videos, there was no YouTube, there was no streaming services, none of that stuff like that. You didn't get away with having a big butt to sell a record, or being cute. You didn't. It was you heard her voice, and that was what sold her records. That was what got people to the concerts, was because of who she was as an artist, as a performer, and her voice was so powerful and resonated with so many people, and that's what has her still standing the test of time. Music is subjective, so you can have people that, I don't like hip hop, I don't like rock, I don't like this and that. I don't know anybody with ears that doesn't like Aretha Franklin. You can just listen to her voice, and if you can hear the talent, the raw power that her voice carried. And this is also somebody who was very relevant. You're talking about a time where people of color, black people, were marginalized, women were marginalized, and for her to have a hit like Respect, something like that, everybody knows R.E.S.P.C.T., everybody knows that, but what that meant at the time, what it meant for people of color, people that were marginalized communities, and for women who were also second-class citizens back in those days. This is something that was very important and very huge for someone like that to come back and make that kind of statement back then. So, the world definitely lost a huge icon today in Aretha Franklin, and it's definitely something that we want to keep everybody aware of, and everybody go back and listen to the great music. Like you said, icons, legends live on forever, right?
Yeah, they don't die.
They don't die. They don't die. You're always going to be able to go back and hear the great work that Miss Aretha Franklin put out. And I just want to, send the well wishes out to her friends and family and loved ones. And we want to take a real quick moment of silence here on Urban World Talk for the legendary icon, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. All right, guys. All right, so with that out of the way, that sad stuff, we do have some positive things to talk about and get into and have some fun with these ladies here. So we're going to be talking about, first, with these girls right here, the Girls of SOAR, this organization. And tell us a little bit about the stuff that you guys do. The girls, you guys got a lot of stuff that you guys do, a lot of positive things. And tell us exactly what you guys' organizations are. Who wants to start?
Okay, well, I'll start. So I don't technically work for SOAR. I work for OYU, which is an organization that's under SOAR. And what my title is, I guess, I'm a young leader or a youth leader. And it's a team, and we broke it up into different teams. So there's the event team, the outreach team, and like the facilitation team or something like that. I'm on the event team and the outreach team, so I go out in the community, I knock on doors, tell people to come to events. I register people and young people to vote. I pretty much just interact with the community one-on-one. So then I can take back the information and the feedback that they're giving me to then go with the event planning team and plan more events for them that they're interested in, that are helpful to them, and yeah.
Nice. So how does the OYU, how does that play into SOAR?
So SOAR is like the bigger kinds of organization. So for Opportunity Youth United, which is OYU, they have to go through a different organization because of the type of nonprofit that they are. So SOAR is just their organization that they're kind of connected to, so they can have their own kind of overall organization.
Okay.
And if you don't mind me jumping in.
Go ahead.
So SOAR stands for Schools Out Washington, or Schools Out Washington. Oh, it's not an acronym. Well, anyway.
It is. I think it is soaring.
In my mind. Well, anyways, we're housed at Schools Out Washington, but SOAR is the provider that is kind of it holds the King County Youth Advisory Board, and that's kind of the partnership with OYU, which is Opportunity Youth United, which is a grassroots national movement of youth, all youth below the age of 25, to come together to work on issues that are affecting their communities. And so that's kind of how it's all connected to each other. I don't know, what do you want to say?
Yeah, so I'll rewind. So OYU is a movement that was created by the National Council of Young Leaders, which that council came about because there was a recommendation put into the White House for community solutions. And so this council was created by 20 different young leaders of color in the community from 20 different sponsoring organizations. They nominated like real strong leaders in the organizations that were former Opportunity Youth. And that word basically is a word to replace the word dropout or the word at risk, because we want to kind of redefine that narrative of like, because those terms is basically looking down on young people,
Yeah.
whereas saying Opportunity Youth is a term to put a positive light on. Yes, it's a young person that needs opportunity, but it's also an opportunity for our nation to invest in our young people, for our young people to invest back into the nation. And so the council, they're not able to really accept any more young members onto their team, but so that's why they created OYU as a movement. So Opportunity Youth United is a grassroots movement, but so beneath that is the community action teams, which right now is strong here in Seattle. They have in Chicago, Atlanta, Boston, Sacramento, LA, Philly, and New York. And those community action teams are basically led by organizations like SOAR, which is a nonprofit that does collaborative work, bringing different people to the table to work on different community issues. And so the CAT team is made of young leaders like Lee and like Paviel, who basically go out into the community and tackle different issues that are about us. And
what's some of those issues that you guys are out there on the ground tackling? What are some of the things that you're actually doing?
I think voter suppression rights is one of them. Right now, KCYAC is working on a prison to pipeline video. I'm just interested necessarily in education, and that means all types of education. I think our organization is like well-rounded in the aspects where we cover a lot of different topics, as far as like LGBTQ issues, women's rights, things like that, and not voter suppression rights, because I already said that, but immigrant rights and things like that. So there's a lot of different like specific topics that we tackle and that we talk about, but I think that having youth have a voice in those kind of spaces and giving them the opportunity to just learn things and talk about things is education, and it does like make a difference in people's lives.
Definitely.
Yeah. And in the last year, I think OYU in Seattle has really kind of blown up. in a sense, because King County Youth Advisory Board has been around for a while, but the partnership with OYU has really grown and really expanded in the last year. And so what has happened is that we've been able to kind of create a board of members. And so we have a handful of young people, and we're about a group of 10, 12 young people right now, and we meet regularly, and we have different teams, as Lee was saying, and we're working on identifying, what it is that the community is really, concerned about. And there are a lot of different issues, and so we're figuring out what our capacity is. We're finishing up some old projects, the school to prison pipeline videos that we've been talking about. We're going to be recording ourselves and kind of talking about our own personal struggles coming up here soon. And then also the voter engagement is a huge, huge piece right now.
So you guys all are all a part of the same thing as the OYU?
Yeah.
All part of that same thing. So kind of, so what is it exactly that you bring to the table yourself? What is it that you put out there? Your superpower in this group. What is it?
I'm unapologetic. I'm fearless. I'm
Say
a
that.
revolutionary.
Okay.
I'm not scared to say nothing to nobody, especially when it comes to topics like white supremacy and social justice issues. A lot of people like to beat around the bush and like, oh, it's not white people's fault. It's not my fault either, but it's my responsibility as well as theirs. And a lot of time people get like shy to talk about these kind of issues in front of people, and I'm not. I'm usually the spokesperson. I can go in front of a crowd and say what I feel, say what I have to say, and because I feel like no one can really take away like my experiences, and some of the things that I've experienced is just you can't really deny that these things are, ingrained in racism, ingrained in white supremacy, ingrained in,
You're gonna be the voice that of the voiceless. That people need to hear that. What about you? What is it that you bring to the table, Miss Frida? What's your strength? We need it. Let's hear it.
I would say my strength is of course, number one would be my voice.
Right.
I'm not afraid to say what I have to say and give my opinion on different things and be real about it.
Right.
So my real voice, I think a lot of times we try to, code switch it or like cover that up, and I'm just being my authentic self. And I also think I would say it's like knowing who I am and being proud of who I am and where I come from. I think like we're really losing cultural identity, but that is a huge piece of who we are, and I bring that to the table because that's a different that's a different setting of like competency, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be competent and learn all these different things like work related, but if you come to the table with not just a female or a female of color, but also like a Pacific Islander, and owning that and knowing your history and your culture, like that also makes you, like, I would say, a badass in this work, is being able to bring that that mindset to the table.
Definitely. You missed it. Say it again.
Pavia.
Yes. Right. I keep looking at you, the way your name is spelled, and I want to say like 3 different things.
That's okay.
Pavia.
That's okay.
Pavia.
Yes.
All right. And what about you? What is your strength that you're bringing to the table?
So the strength really comes from my own personal struggle. As a teen mom, I grew up in poverty, had a really intense identity development, similar things that a lot of people experience, but also just as a white woman, just kind of educating my peers out there and kind of setting an example for what it looks like to be a white woman in this community, how to step back, how to, step up and speak up, and, just kind of sharing a message. And one thing I do want to shout out right now is the Uru Solidarity Movement and African People's Socialist Party. All white people should pay reparations.
Whoa. No pot stirring there.
Well, I respect that, Pavia,
Yeah.
because Pavia is actually half Mexican, and to claim that, as a white woman and doing your part is being woke to that white privilege, and also like knowing, your white passings. I feel like there are some white passing people, let's be real, that be like, oh, I'm this and percent and the third. But it's like, okay, but if you're white passing, like knowing what that privilege is and owning that and sharing, so that other white people can also know like what their privilege is, even if you're mixed,
Because you don't like identify with the struggle that if you're, say I'm black and I look like a white person, I don't experience the same struggles and the same kind of things that a Black woman does. So to say that I am that would be just disrespectful, because it's just like you don't go through the same things as some, even if you are, oh, my grandfather, was half Black or whatever.
Yeah, it's not the same.
You're right. I want to get back on it in a minute. Alice, you got a question?
Well, I was just gonna ask how each of them came to find OIU or SOAR, and how you guys came to be where you are in this organization. Like, how did you find it?
I found SOAR because I went to this community event that was hosted by Seattle Central College, South Central. That one?
South Central.
Yes, South Central, yeah. South Seattle. My friend goes there, so she asked me to go to this event with her, and I met Michaela there, and she was there with Omar, and they were working with KCYAC, and I was just pretty much like, how do I get involved? How do I become a youth leader? Because at the time, I was in like kind of a weird space where I felt like I have all these resources and these tools, this knowledge to give to people, but I don't really know like what to do with it, where to go, who to talk to about it. So I just pretty much went up to her and asked her like, how do I become part of the team? And she was like, all for it. So yeah.
Frida, what about you?
I found out through it because I'm a Year Up alum, which is a technical program, but they would always tell us about like community events or like different things happening, and they told me about the King County Youth Advisory Council, which I attended, which I later ended up leading. But so being open to like networking events and going to that council was really the first step of me like learning about all this different youth work going on.
Right.
I think my how I entered in was I can't really remember, it was so far back, but I was involved in a lot of community organizations here in Seattle, specifically Seattle Young People's Project, which is an amazing project here in Seattle. If any young people are out there, please check it out, Seattle Young People's Project, if you're interested in organizing a community. But I was involved in a lot of different organizations and, doing community work, and I came across King County Youth Advisory Board after I had my daughter, so probably about like 3 years ago now. And at that time, we were working on some school to prison pipeline education, as well as talking about mental health in the community and some of the issues around that. And that really intrigued me. And then it just so happened that Opportunities United kind of did a partnership with them, and I learned so much from there.
This is history, and she's in there. Real quick, I want to shout out everybody watching us here on Facebook Live and on Rainieravenueradio.world. I also want to take a look at some of these comments that I got real quick here. Teri Senior says that Aretha was very relevant even today, even with with her body issues, social issues, relationship issues. She was very transparent with her life. We always need people like that. Danielle Bell says, shout out to Teri Youngman and all his women. Hey, yeah. Woman power, man, is strong in here right now. Teri also says, opportunity youth is necessary because school is not for everyone, and how to keep them focused. That's a good question. I'm gonna pose that to you guys in a minute. Lydia says, rest in peace, Aretha, Lydia Youngman. John J. Jackson says, our youth need a place to be. Back in my day, we had rec centers after schools, programs, and we just went outside and played. Also, when I had my place of business, I hired youth to keep them off the street. Let me see real quick here.
He wrote a book.
Yeah, he did. Obviously, believe me, I do know that times have changed, but maybe if we input a few of these things, it would be better. I speak from experience being raised in the CD and had a business in the CD. Thank you, JJ Jackson with Grits and Groceries. All right, ladies. Again. So what are some of the challenges? Somebody mentioned keeping the kids focused. What are some of the challenges that you really see that are some of the main issues with a lot of these kids that you guys deal with on a regular basis?
Well, I don't think any kid is like bad or anything. I think a lot of them are just uneducated, unaware, and don't have the support system at home to push them forward. I personally didn't want to do my homework. I didn't have to do my homework. There was no one saying, do your homework. And if someone who needs that type of push, who needs that type of influence isn't getting that, then they're not doing their homework. They're not doing anything. They're kind of just going through it. So I think that influence and education is the main thing that like I run into with young people, and not understanding their implicit biases and not understanding that they're taught, to be this way. Black people are taught to hate black people just as white people are taught to hate black people. And this is something that we have to start addressing. This is something that we have to start talking about and understanding, so that our young people understand that they're not seeing, models that look like them for a reason, and that this is internalized and this is on, the everyday. So I think understanding society comes with education. So
Yeah. What about you, Frida, with some of the direct challenges that you face with some of these youth?
I would say it's not the challenges that I'm facing with the youth, it's the challenges that the youth are facing themselves.
Exactly.
I just worked at a middle school teaching, and it was really hard for me because I had also worked in a high school, and I thought that was hard, but middle school is even more hard for me. It was overwhelming just because they're going through so much at home, and then they're expected to go to school and be robots and be well mannered and be straight A students,
right.
But they have all these other outside factors that they're thinking about. And I have students, and I think that the huge part is like, when do they actually get to get to let out what they're feeling or what they're going through? Because there's never a time that they're in this routine of school home, but when does someone actually talk to them about their trauma and what they're experiencing? Students will be like, oh yeah, my dad just died, he just got shot, and these are things they tell me, like, oh well, yeah, my mom, I found her overdose, she was dead on the ground, and so now I'm living with my auntie. And I'm just like, what? Like, I just can't believe the way that they're telling me, like, it's, they're telling me about like the candy they just ate. It's
Right.
like, it's something that trauma and the experiences they're going through has become so normalized, and they don't ever have a time to really sit down and talk to someone about it,
Right.
or let that out.
And that would be something as an adult. I mean, the things that you're talking about right there, I would be able to go to work the next day and actually work. And they're expected to sit in a classroom and get the job done when they're going through these major traumatic situations. So they definitely need people like that.
And just to play off of that, I mean, on top of that, the expectation to show up to spaces and really kind of leave yourself behind, I think. There's not a lot of spaces that, individuals can go to in general and just be themselves and just lay it all out on the table, and then, say like, okay, what are the root, be with people that say like, what are the root issues of this? Like, why are these things happening? Like, how can we stop these things from happening? How can we heal ourselves, heal our communities, be together in a genuine way without the expectation that you should not bring yourself, that yourself isn't valuable.
Right. Definitely. We're gonna leave that right there. We're gonna get into a lot more stuff. We're gonna have a 3-minute break on the radio station right here, Facebook Live. You guys stay with us. We're gonna be right here. We're gonna be chilling with you guys in a minute. Allison McGinnis, she's got some things to talk about with an organization that she's working with too. When we come back, and we got some fun stuff to talk about with these girls too. When we come back after this short break, so you guys stay with us.
News update. We're still on Facebook.
We're still live on Facebook.
Say hello.
Everybody keep saying hi to everybody. The ladies, it's kind of hard to.
No, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see.
I'm trying to get
And
in.
you're going back a little more. Yeah, to stuff on the wall.
Organize everything.
I can already put that
You guys listen to Aretha?
Yeah.
Anybody play? I mean, that's Aretha's a little old school.
And
I feel like I was sadder when Michael Jackson died.
You was at when Michael Jackson died?
Yeah.
But the saddest thing about it is that culturally, it's almost like a generation that has missed her. That she almost needs to she almost needs to be reintroduced to our generation.
Yeah, well, they need to make a movie about her or something, right?
Well, even that you can tell them that they need to get some. If you really want to get in, there's a greatest hits that they need to get. YouTube is all over YouTube because there's a lot of people that only know Taylor Bell, they only know Lettucey, they only know Fantasia, and
What's up, Grandma? Doris Johnson watching. Boys.
But it's a culture, people need to remember, they don't, it's like McDonald's guy.
When did she hit the?
She hit the scene in the 60s. Her first hit record was like in 66. So that's like almost 2-3 generations.
Yeah,
Top generation. And so, yeah, That's like your grandmother. You know, yeah. For most kids now, that's my generation's. Beyonce almost like that.
Who you think got the best voice? If somebody's supposed to put you in a room and say who got the best musical voice, because people say Aretha a lot of times. Who you say the best voice? No name right now. The whole
Jackson, Teri.
Who's got the best voice? The best voice? Tracy Chapman?
Again, that's a question to ask them. Because a lot of people.
You guys, who got the best voice ever? A lot of people say Aretha Franklin. Some people say it. Some people say Mariah. Some people say Whitney. Some people say
Whitney.
Some people say
Whitney's up there for sure.
what's his name off of Queen? What's his name off of Queen? Because I was Freddie Mercury. I put him in the conversation. You ever heard of Freddie Mercury?
But again, remember,
we gotta help the youth. We gotta help the youth.
Almost a generational shift. She was almost like 3 generations.
Yeah. She's way back there.
She was old by the time I was born.
You ready? There we go. That's some Aretha back there. Get some Aretha in. You need, 20 years old. You need to get some of this Aretha. Listen to some of this Aretha. Get some of that.
I would encourage everybody.
Mary J is kind of like this.
Yeah, exactly. You go with Mary J, somebody like that, or even Keisha. They have resonance. They have a resonance in their voices that are. Fantasia would be more like that. Fantasia.
All right, guys, we are back. We are back here on Urban World Talk Live, right here on Facebook Live, Rainieravenueradio.world. I got the ladies of SOAR and OYU, right? OYU, that's how we say it. SOAR and OYU. I got Miss Lee Roberts here. I also got Miss Frida Crichton, and I got Paviel Montez. Woo! I said that name right. I got it right, y'all. I got it right. And also, I got sitting in from my boy Anthony Adams, the lovely Miss Allison McGinnis is also in the building as well. So yeah, we've been talking about you guys at OYU and SOAR. We're talking about that. You guys are reaching out to these kids and really helping these kids that need a lot of help. Kids are coming from marginalized situations, from bad situations. You guys are really helping them stay focused the way that they need to. It's great.
I just want to hop in and say that we're not like saviors. We're not helping anybody. We are we are a part of our community. Right. Yeah.
It's helping them.
So
though.
it is
It's helping them though. Yeah, look. I understand that you don't want to, it is what you do, you love it and all of that stuff like that. We need people like you. That's the only reason why I'm putting it out there like that. Miss Allison, go ahead.
I would like them to plug in how other youth could come find you or come find the organization. Like, how does somebody come about getting involved and becoming one of you?
Well, you can sign up to the movement at OYU.org, OYUunited.org. And as far as like being a part of the members, I'm actually moving to Vegas next month, so they will be looking for people. So just reach out to any of us or to Michaela. And yeah, we'll get you connected.
You moving to Vegas? Is there any like you guys have like a chapter of the OYU there?
There's one only in Sacramento.
Yeah, there's not one in Vegas, so
She's gonna start one.
Yeah,
that's what I've been working on. Because since there's not a chapter, I'd be part of the national movement with the national leaders. So pretty much have to apply.
Well, you're gonna bring it. You're gonna bring all of that. She's so serious. She said she's 20 years old. She's over there. They joining the movement. You gotta have. We need these people like
Well,
this.
just gonna input. I actually moved back from Vegas a couple months ago, and I was only down there for a short time. But one thing I did notice compared to Seattle is Vegas is lacking a lot of things.
Resources,
Yes.
a lot of resources.
Yes,
And there's
absolutely.
a lot more people of color there. That's another reason why I'm trying to get out of Washington. There's too many white people here. And I feel like I'm trying to help people of color, and I'm trying to invest into my community, and my community's not here. So I feel like I need to go somewhere where there's more of my community that are facing.
What do you feel like? Do you feel like with that said, you said there's a lot of white people here. I think it's a good mix in Seattle.
No, it's 80% white people in this state, 12% in the King County area, and then 8% in Seattle. So
yeah. So you think you need to be somewhere? But do you think that maybe though the fact that you're up here where it is more of a white environment, you think that might help a little bit to help that community because they are really marginalized in that situation? Then
I think
you might
that
stand out more and something like that.
Yeah, like Seattle has taught me a lot of things, and one of the things is like resources and networking, and Seattle is like great for that. There's a lot of like resources, programs, and networking opportunities out here, but Black people especially aren't really facing the type of issues that people in Florida or people in Texas are. They're just not, as far as when we talk about things like mass incarceration. There's only 3%, in this state. Mass incarceration really isn't something that we should be focusing on, whereas in New York, 60,000 people Black men are going to jail every year.
You agree with them? With that?
I think I do.
Yeah. Okay. Allison, you agree with that?
Just in my experience of traveling and everything, I feel like, she's right.
And as far as like access to education and resources, we have programs and resources here that are specifically only here, like specifically made for Seattle, like as far as the introducing the Seattle Promise program, which is free college. Those are things that are being talked about that are even on the table here, whereas in Texas, this is not topic of conversation. No one is even thinking about this. No one, or in Georgia, this is not something that,
I agree those areas probably need a lot more help.
Do you think that Seattle is using Seattle youth is using the resources that we have out here properly?
Yes and no, because like I said, with the Seattle Promise thing, they're trying to give, the Seattle Promise to Seattle schools where gentrification has happened and, our people aren't living in Seattle anymore. They can't afford to live in Seattle. These people live in Federal Way. These people live in Tacoma. So you guys want to give free college to, you guys want to give free college to Garfield High School, when in reality, people of color that are actually need, help going to college are at Lincoln High School, or, they're at Todd Beamer, or they're South.
Let me look at some of these comments real quick and I'll get back in there. John J. Jackson says, thank you for having a format for the youth. Michaela, Youth Boy says, you all are amazing. She's talking about you guys. You guys are all amazing. LaQuinta Q. Jackson says, your community is here. G. Monette Watson says, spit the statistics, baby. She's talking about stats. Now, Eddie Hook says, too many white people are here. True, but there's still a solid Black community here who needs great Black leaders. So,
if we're talking statistics, I'll throw some more numbers out there. So there's
numbers.
Right now, I would say there's 4 billion opportunity youth in the world. In King County alone, though, it's 20,000 opportunity youth in King County, and that's young people that have graduated high school, but they're not doing anything. They're not working. They're not connected to any resources. But even though like 20,000 does sound a lot, like in Phoenix, it's around 75,000. Yeah. So it is different. The need is different depending on where you're at. Yeah. And obviously our number is going to be smaller because there's just like a ton of things that we have here in Washington itself. Programs and resources and things like that.
Hey, that's the reason I live here.
Don't have. Yeah, right. The opportunities here is this is kind of like milk and honey, Washington. Like growing up, I never realized that. I don't think that young people are using, a lot of the resources out here because they just don't know. Yeah. They're too busy caught up in all these other things, what they can touch, what they can see, what's at their door versus like, making the effort to really get out there. Like they don't have the skills to really know how to access or how to find these things that we were able to find. Right. So that's kind of where it's like unbalanced where yes, so we have them
milk
here.
And honey, you say milk and honey almost as it's almost like they're greedy, almost draining almost.
I'm saying that there's opportunities, so many here, so much. Yeah, it's so much opportunities, but young people, if they don't know about it, what's the point?
Yeah, 90% of the time that the people that we encounter, like young people and the things that they need, we have the resource to give them to them. Whereas like in a different state, there are not these resources to present. Hey, you can sign up for this program. Hey, you can sign up for this program. There's just not.
Let me real quick. Eddie Hook says I don't agree. We have the same issues here as everywhere else. In other places, there's just more of it. It's more concentrated.
Yes, there's the same issues in other places. No, there's not the same resources. Yes, people in, Atlanta are dropping out. But whereas we have programs where we can say, here's a program to get you into school that's going to pay for your first 2 semesters. That program is not in Georgia, whereas that program is here in Washington. We have so many things that are available for people who need help, whereas people in other places, there are not people available. There's no resources at all in Oklahoma for someone who has just dropped out of high school. There's no re-engagement programs. There's no OYU saying, hey, we can take you on this step to get you here. There's nothing. There's, as far as like resources and who really needs help, Seattle doesn't really need help. They have the resources. They have the bodies.
And I think it's a little bit about variation as well too, is because the resources are so abundant here in Seattle. I mean, there may be some resources, out in other places in the country, but it's not a one size fits all, like it's one GED center is not going to do for, all of the dropouts in Georgia. So we got to think about that. We got to think about what is it that our young people want? What is it that they're experiencing? And how can we flip the system in a way to allow them to own it and for it to be theirs and so that they can thrive and do all the things that they want to do with it.
Right. Well, and I think I agree with everything you guys are saying. But I think what Eddie is kind of alluding to the fact was that there's always going to be there's problems in every place you look at. There's always going to be the same type of issues. Now there's places like Seattle. You can look at Seattle area and say, yeah, we are better off than a lot of places. There's a lot of places that are a lot worse off than us. But a lot of the same. I think you don't want to misrepresent the fact that there's no issue, because there are a lot of places you can go here and people do have the same issues as a lot of these other places, but it just might be on a larger scale in the other places. Do you agree with that at least? Like there's still, there's more resources here. That is true, but there are still a lot of the same issues even here, even within the land of milk and honey. There's still a lot of the same issues here, which is why they have.
We're in America, so it's like any state you go to, we're gonna have issues that these are ingrained into our society.
You want to go where it's thick?
As far as like, yes, we're going to have Black people in poverty across the country. Yes, they're going to be people of color, minorities facing dropout rates, facing pregnancy, facing all of these kind of things. But as far as like states that have the resources to provide for these people and to get these people back ingrained into society, Seattle has more than a lot of places, because they say we're this liberal state and we're so progressive, and that's what Seattle has become to be known for. But whereas like places like Oklahoma, where you drop out.
I mean, and like this is just like where the pot of money is. You got United Way, Starbucks, Microsoft, Google. You got all the big major companies that are, right here. Their headquarters are right here in Washington. So it's easier to find different funding streams here than it would be like in other places. And like Lee said, like, yes, there's dropouts and maybe a couple programs elsewhere, but in King County alone, there's almost 40 different re-engagement programs. So we shouldn't even have dropouts at all, period, because we have so many re-engagement programs. It was at the point where we had none, and now we got too many, but they can't find the kids. So it's like, there's that disconnect.
And the type of education that we receive, as far as like growing up in Seattle and going to Seattle public schools, the type of funding that the schools that I went to were provided was way vast past numbers that anybody in Oklahoma or Texas have ever seen. You see what I'm saying? As far as the type of education I was given early on is even different as far as my development. A lot of people don't know what Jim Crow laws are. I was talking to someone who is 24, and he said, "Who is Jim Crow?" He is from DC. So that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about as far as like education resources. I could say Jim Crow to someone my age in Washington, and they'll have an idea of what I'm talking about as far as like what kind of things that are relevant and kind of things that people in Washington feel like, as far as teachers feel are relevant to tell their students, to talk to their students about, is not really happening in other places.
LaQuinta Q. Jackson says she's going to be an ACLU lawyer who thinks like she does in a Broadway. Go, Lee. Says hello. Elliot says, what's the use of having resources if no one knows about them? So,
Ah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
we gotta-
that's like what we do is we go out and we tell people about, you know, the resources. We tell people that if you need help, contact us. And if we don't as our organization have the resources to help you, we're in network with so many other organizations that we will find somebody to get what you need, whether, you know, engagement, whether it's in housing, whether it's, you know, whatever, a broad, you know, spectrum of things that where I can pick up the phone and call somebody who can call somebody. That's just not happening in other states and other places.
Yeah.
Do you guys go, I guess, I want to say like national, like do you guys personally ever work with anyone in any other cities, or how far has that gotten?
Well, we went to a Fresh Tracks training in California, where we talked about a lot of like Native American issues, which I personally wasn't like woke on. So I think that was like a really good learning experience. And we got to talk to like a lot of leaders that were in our communities and communities on the Pacific Northwest. So as far as like engaging with other people from different places, yes, Opportunities United is a national movement and they do connect people with people across the nation. So I think that's like one of the things that I'll be doing when I get to Vegas is starting that kind of foundation up.
You gonna plant the flag. What about you guys? You guys have any if you had any engagement with anybody from across the country?
Yeah, definitely. So about every 6 months, the Aspen Institute holds a major convening of all of the different OIU sites, and everybody comes together and shares what they've been doing in their community. You know what the priorities are, what needs are, and you know we get to spend time together, workshopping, talking, and kind of learning about each other and our different strategies and how we can kind of tackle these issues in our own communities when we get home.
Yeah, so I've been able to go to Aspen, Chicago, New Orleans for the same conference, not only to attend, but also to hold workshops. We hope to plan the conference that happened in South King County this year, where it's bringing 23 different cities together from across the country and about 2 young leaders from each city, just to share our different practices and how people do their work and strategies and things like that. And it's really powerful to be in a room with all these different young leaders from around, you know, the country, and hear like how they do their work and what maybe we can take from them to implement in our work and our organizations.
That's awesome. I heard another comment here from Eddie Hooks. He says, if we want to compare issues, there are places all over the world where Black people are worse in other areas, but is that the point? A great leader once said, if one ain't free, none of us are. So focus on helping where you are. All right, so what do you think about that?
I feel like none of us are free anyway. You know, as far as like we, you know, one of us aren't free, none of us are. So I'm not. I feel like as far as like inside the compass of America, no. But where as far as like the things that I particularly bring to the table, I feel like my voice is not needed in Washington. They have these resources, they have these kind of things, and I'm helping here, doing my part. But as far as like, I feel like I can do more. I can do way more. I can start taking some of the things that I've learned from Seattle, some of the programs that we have, and start talking to elected officials in different places, because I already have those kind of connections here. I can call, you know, people on, you know, the Senate, say, hey, you know, let's talk to someone in, you know, Texas, or let's talk to someone in Georgia, as far as like spreading and kind of trying to take the things that we have here in Seattle and like push it out into the rest of the country.
Are you from here?
Yes, I was born and raised in Seattle. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think that I see both sides. I think that there's definitely a need for. There's always going to be a need for a voice, and there's a lot of people here that are still there. As good as everything is here, there still are these areas where people do need help. Which there's a need for OYU here in the first place, which is where you guys all. And you guys do business. You guys have people that need your help right now. So there is still a need for people here. But I understand you want to go places where they might be in more need. So I can understand that as well.
Yeah, I commend her for that. I totally get it. We're just
And different types of need. They don't need the same things in Washington that they need across the country. Because of our Senate, because of our state, everything here is liberal, is upcoming, is progressive, pushing forward. And then we say that in one statement and then look at, it's the most regressive tax system in the country. So there are things that, yes, can be fixed. There are things that are different on different, platforms. But as far as like going into what I can do personally, I can introduce these programs that are here in other places that they are not even being talked about at all. They're not even
And you want to
an
start
idea.
that?
Yeah.
I got you. All right, K. Renee says, "Hey Eddie, we are out here. I lead the OYU movement in Seattle and am from Kansas, but I choose to support young people here. We're creating a resource guide so that people can know about all the opportunities." And Eddie said, "Thank you." Okay. So all right. Well, we're gonna get a little bit more information on all you guys' organization and your personal contact stuff, or not personal, but contact stuff so people can get at you guys. About the work that you're doing with OYU. So we're gonna get to more about that later. But I wanna shift gears a little bit here because we're running out a little bit of time. We wanna have a little bit of fun, open it up a little bit, open up the conversation. Now, Allison, I was talking to you the other day, and you were telling me this story about one of the famous artists out there named Nicki Minaj, and something that was going on with her. What was that you were talking about?
I was watching TMZ and it was showing one of her radio interviews about I don't know, they were talking to her about her album and she started getting all crazy because the DJ accused her of not writing her own music.
She started getting real personal with her stuff,
Yeah,
right?
and she was talking about I was like a woman and all this, but then, which was kind of hilarious, I don't know, she just started talking about her ex-boyfriend and saying all this funny stuff about his like hairline and
giving all the secrets.
All these things, and so
spilling the tea. Is that
what
right?
we were talking about is from a girlfriend, ex-girlfriend point of view. Where do you cross? Like, what's crossing the line? Like, is it okay to
share some of the secrets, the dark
some
secrets?
of the secrets, or do you keep it, close? Don't like.
I'm assuming everybody here has had some kind of a relationship at some point or another. So it gets me to the question that Allison is asking right now. What is the proper breakup etiquette? What do we do when we break up with people? Do we share with the world certain information? Or is certain things off limits? I mean, have you guys ever had an experience with somebody who you were in a relationship with and then they just started telling everybody all your business afterwards? I mean, did that ever happen to you? Lee?
Well, I've never been in a relationship.
Oh!
I'm wholesome. But I feel like for any type of relationship, friendship, it's just like out of loyalty. I feel like
she just saying that because her mom is watching.
No. I really never.
That's the first time I'm not believing you today.
No, I really haven't.
Okay.
I just feel like guys are not on the same level as me, and like I'm not gonna waste my time if I feel like you're not worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like I hold myself to such a standard that some people they're just not ready for it. But back to the question. Back to the question.
Maybe it's the Seattle guys.
maybe it might really be.
Right.
This isn't any better.
Okay. That's experience.
I don't know. I'm
but maybe though.
What about Alex? You were from Vegas. You ever had anybody that start bumping the guns a lot after you guys broke up? Anything? No.
I mean,
what about you? Were you the one? Tell the truth now.
No, like I feel like
certain things on
best friends can hear everything. They can hear all of the stuff, but publicly, no, I've kept my mouth shut.
Oh, okay. So you don't blast anybody out. What about you, Frida? You know, tell us some stuff.
Shoot. Listen, I would not know because I'm quick to block and cut you off so quick. I don't care what you do. I don't really even give information. So I've always known if you're someone I can even trust. So, I mean, I probably know from day one if I'm going to dump you or not. So I never I don't give you enough dirt to be able to come at me. But then also, like, I'm blocking from my whole world and my whole universe. So I wouldn't even know.
So you wouldn't know.
They can tell what they think they know, but I just don't pay no mind. I don't entertain that kind
Bobby, have you ever spilled some tea? Had somebody spill some tea on you?
Well,
About you?
the thing I always think about is, there's always two sides to every story. So I think be careful what you say out to the public because, I mean, you really show a piece of yourself when you start talking about other people.
Yes.
That's kind of my my thing about it, I don't like to talk about other people. I think, you know, as Allison said, you know, best friends hear things, but you know who you can trust, like Frida said as well.
Loyalty, and I feel like if I'm not friends with nobody no more, I'm not gonna just be like, oh, she was doing this, this, and this. Like that's just messy. You just don't do that.
Okay.
Well, are you guys friends with any of your exes? Allison, are you friends with any exes? Is that cool? Is that bring up exes?
They're
Bring up-
extra reason.
Yeah.
Are you friends with them?
Yes.
Terrible center. Go ahead. You are? You guys are good? You guys are friends? And now, is that cool? Now, if you have a new relationship, is that going to work out? Will you still be friends with
I
you
feel
guys?
like that just kind of comes with the territory. You slowly just become not
Like
as
acquaintances?
cool. Yeah, when
Okay.
there's somebody new.
What about you? You think that, Javier, you got any friends that are exes? Oh, she good. She got a look right there like, oh, hold up.
It's
Now
a
I'm
hot
feeling
seat over
tea.
here. I'm definitely friends with some of my exes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always better to leave things on good terms if you can. I mean, it's always good to, you know, take some personal space, you know, really think about things and decide, you know, whether or not that relationship is healthy to continue or not. I think the bottom line is really personal health and setting boundaries. So that's something I always think about when
Setting
I'm
boundaries.
moving into friendships from romantic
And
relationships.
what's the boundaries? No more house calls. You can't come over no more.
Yeah,
You come by?
no more late night.
No,
late
late night.
night.
What about you, Frida? You friends with any exes?
No, I don't. Hell no.
I don't know. She
Yeah,
said she blocks them.
I just can't. I don't know. Like you're dead to me, so I'm sorry. I just can't. I don't get because especially if you end it, because then they might not have been ready for you to end it. They might have still like lingering feelings, and it's like I'm not gonna lead you on. I'm not even gonna play frenzy with you because I'm not about that. Like,
Right.
I'm
It's
sorry, you
always
gotta
up.
scooch on out. I'm not putting you out by not being your friend. You know, I want them to move on with their life too.
It's over. It's over. Miss Allison, you the friend thing. You think that no? You said it's okay for you to have a friend. No, but if you had a boyfriend or something, and he had an ex that was a good. No. Oh, look at that. She even let me finish the question. No, right away. Now look at that. See, Nate, what's the difference there? What's the difference there? How come it's okay? You said you can't explain this. You said you could have a friend, and that's okay.
But it's different.
What's the difference?
I don't know.
What's the difference?
Just to make sure.
She can't even explain it. Let me look at some of these comments real quick. They said, if they told you something in confidence, you should keep it that for yourself. Terry said, from being woke to relationship advice. Hey, look, we cover it all here. Urban World Talk. You know what I'm saying? The world is a bunch of things. It's not just one thing. So we got to cover it all here. Then he said, treat others how you want to be treated. She knew that from day one. She's laughing at what she said. And to think about your side and how it also comes out. And Terry said it totally comes from the other person. So yeah, it's always interesting for me to hear about the way that these things are, because I always hear interesting stuff like Allison, like I can be friends, but the boyfriend, no, right out of that, it's like that. This is funny, the differences between men and women. We are going to figure it out here on Urban World Talk. Well, I want to thank the girls for coming on today. I want to thank Ms. Paviel Montez. I want to thank Frida Crichton. I want to thank Lee Roberts, who's going to leave us and go to Vegas and take her message with us. And also the great co-host, Allison McGinnis. Ladies, where can everybody catch you for your OIU? Real quick.
You can add me on Facebook, but I'm not really on Facebook often. So a better way to reach me is on my Instagram, and it's @LilBlackGirl. I'll write it in the comments.
All right, Frida.
Oh yeah, you can always find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm gonna comment on this video. I shared this video too, so just click on the shares and you'll find it.
Paviel.
You can find me at Paviel Ryan. Facebook, also all over Seattle, and soon to be in Eastern Washington, EWU.
All right, Allison McGinnis.
You can find me on Facebook as Allison McGinnis, or my Instagram is Allison_Vegas.
All right, guys, you guys can catch me here next week on Urban World Talk Live, Facebook Live. I got a review of Black Klansman on right now. Thank you guys. Facebook Live, Rainieravenueradio.world. I'll be back next week. Until next time, it's boy Teri saying peace out.
Sorry.
Hey, you guys could all sign in on your way out.